made that? Because I mean, if you think about it, like
A real estate
be
broker starting
depressed.
out.
Well, like 2 decades ago, we could have bought homes in Beverly Hills. Like, yes, it's always been expensive, but it hasn't. It's only been in the past like 8 years that it's gone like insane, right? But 2 decades ago, the early 2000s, so they're like 34, 35. They're like our age ish. Um, I don't know. Do we think they were making millions of dollars working for Rick, or do we think they were making like
No,
250, 300?
that one.
Or really?
That one.
What a jump for them.
I
Okay.
think, they started and came up and, like, yeah, I think they
Don't you
worked.
wonder what Kim Richards does? Like, how is Kim affording her life?
Honey, I'm not sure. That's a really good question.
Okay.
I don't think it's such a grand life. I think there's a house and she draws on the walls and paints the animals. And I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much.
Is she working for Kathy and Rick? I mean, I don't think Kathy and Rick
Yeah.
work anymore, right? I don't know. You know what? I have so many questions. God, I wish Kathy
Rick
would
sold
call
Hilton
us.
and Highland. I wish Kathy would call us.
I know.
Rick
I adore
sold
Kathy.
Hilton and Highland, but I don't know. This woman is in love, and that's what I took away from this episode. We'll hear from Morgan Wade soon, since you all want me to come
Oh,
back. Some people hate the appearance of Morgan Wade here behind the velvet rope. A lot of you love it though. So most of you love it. So Morgan is going to be back soon. I don't know. That's what I took. Oh, and I love how Garcelle that episode is like swatting her face, and she's like, "I'm sorry, it was just a gnat." We have Teddi making an appearance. She refers to herself as the gnat in front of Garcelle. Garcelle is like, honey, I'm not even giving you camera time. Teddi really apparently doesn't want to be on the show. She said, I only went to that episode because it was like Kyle and Lorraine and like it was life. But Teddy shockingly does
well,
not want to film these
honey, if you were
appearances.
making $2 million a year off your podcast and splitting a milli each, they're never going to bring Kyle. They're never going to bring
Honey,
back
I
for the
think you're
money she
giving
made.
them way too much credit.
You don't think Two T's is bringing in 2 million a
No,
year? Oh, I think they're
no.
close. I think they're making a lot more than you think. 100%.
I didn't. I would guess if I had to take a guess. No, I'm just basing it on like what I make, what approximately what you make ish, and just
I think they're making. Oh my God, insane. Yeah, I think they're making two.
I would have said way less. Not high. I would have said maybe like maybe 1 million. And then they have to give iHeart 30%. So like 700,000. So like 350 each, maybe. Maybe a tiny now.
No,
Maybe a tiny bit more.
they're way.
2 million, Sarah. God, wow.
Honey, they trend in the top. If you're in the top 200 and you're not fudging your numbers, you're legit. And I don't think they are. I think their
No,
numbers
no,
are
they're
real.
they're like definitely not fudging their numbers.
They're getting they pulled in last year 1.5, 1.6, 1.7
You
easily.
think? Oh.
Easily. Yes.
So 1.5. So take 70% of that, whatever that is. 2 million. So what's 70% of 2 million? 1.4. So well, that's like 700,000 each. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
I think Teddi doesn't want to come back because she could never make the money that she's making on 2Ts. And she's like killing it on 2Ts. There's no way. There's no way. And they never paint her in the storyline. They no matter what, they always paint her as like annoying. So they're never gonna paint her as like that. Maybe, I mean, if you hang in there long enough, everybody seems to get their redemption, including Miss Erica Jane.
Speaking of the Nat, Teddy, everyone's gonna hate me for this. Like I compare her to the rat that scurries. And
Wow, that's low. Okay.
although, no, I was gonna say when I compare her to the rat that scurries, I actually prefer Teddy over Tamra as a human.
1,000%. I don't even know how people actually. I'll be curious to see if Tamrat on that podcast hurts that podcast now. I don't see. What do you make of this whole Tres Amigas breaking up? By the way, there was like a breaking news story this afternoon about the rat coming out, the rat that scurries, who says that it was a business deal. It's the business end of it that they all fell out over. That Tamra, is so upset because apparently she had told Shannon and Vicky over and over, my podcast, I'm super stressed. I've got all this stuff. I'm overscheduled. I don't want to do this tour. They wanted to move forward anyway. Then they couldn't come to agreements on tour dates, everything else. So Tamra back to, ended it. And then now they've just been fighting back and forth. What do you make of it? You have, you've had Vicky, you've had everybody.
They all unfollowed. And by the way, I have no horse in this race. Victoria Gunvalson and I are not exactly like breaking bread tomorrow either. So don't think that apparently someone told me that Kelly Dodd apparently praised me and gave me a compliment. And I did a solo video a few weeks or 2 weeks ago about how like Tamara has no soul, and it's no wonder she fucked everyone over. And the Tres Amigas, I mean, there's lots of rumors like that Shannon and Vicky might pull in Kelly. Not the worst idea if you pulled in Kelly for the tour. But even regardless of that, apparently Kelly and her mother have applauded me based on my solo video and have said, Kelly said, oh, that David Yontef, he finally sees Tamra for what she is. Kelly, girl, I've seen the rat as the rat for many, many years now. I'm sorry if you didn't realize that.
I love to, and they gave you a shout out on 2Ts. I know you already addressed this on your podcast, but actually, Teddi didn't say anything negative about you. The rat that scurries said, I will never do his podcast again. I'm like, bitch, please.
She hasn't
doing his podcast.
Right. She hasn't been invited here in 2 years. So she's turning down an invite that is literally 2 years old. Teddi, thank you for not saying anything horrible. And Kelly, thank you for saying something great about me. I've always said this. Kelly and I fight. She tells me to fuck off. I tell her to fuck off back, and then I'm over it. I really, truly, in the bottom of my heart, have always said this. I get Kelly. I don't mind Kelly. And at least she's up and down and her emotions are everywhere, but at least that's a real fucking person. What do I make of all of this? Well, that is what Tamra has said. I mean, she's on the Traders now. She posted for it. Vicky had commented, perfect show for you. I mean, they're clapping back. To me, it's like, just call it. And then we'll talk about the OC is filming again, which I think is so interesting. Tamra, the only thing Tamra has said, and you have to remember, the woman lied. So you have to take this with a grain of salt. But
all right. Okay. Ooh.
She does say things like, you have to understand, on the last tour, I was uncomfortable. And she's implying she was uncomfortable because it was right after Shannon's DUI. And she saw things, like to your point, when Gina was on your show and said,
yeah, Gina Kirchner already said it. Yeah, it's out there.
So Tamra implied that she was around this, and she's like, look at Jeff Lewis. I mean, she didn't say this, but this is basically what she's saying. Look at Bravo. Look at the production company. Look at Jeff Lewis. Look at Andy Cohen. Look at NBC. Look at NBC Corporate. Look at Bravo. Every single person in Shannon's life is a fucking enabler, including Victoria Gunvalson. And Tamra is basically saying, like, I was uncomfortable.